confidence in medical scientists and the CDC has declined since COVID. Could that have been avoided?
Public health establishment has made some unforced errors. I think the CDC could have done a better job of explaining the rationale behind their changes.
I can help everyone better understand the CDC's rationale. The CDC is a corrupted governmental agency working for a global network of very wealthy individuals whose main purpose is to impose communism across the planet, starve the people, poison the people, and overall cull the human population, so that these, quote, elite people and their offspring can enjoy more of the Earth's resources to themselves for a longer time. The CDC gave up on helping us citizens a long time ago, and quite to the contrary, is hell-bent on destroying the citizens of the United States.
And I also think that we shouldn't have been so quick to dismiss certain hypotheses that actually turn out to be valid. For example, natural immunity is actually a thing.
It's actually a thing. You really just said that? Of course, natural immunity is not a hypothesis. It is proven through the existence of our species that it indeed works quite well at protecting members of a population so that they can reproduce. To suggest natural immunity is a hypothesis points to the absolute corrupt nature of the CDC and this three-letter agent, Dr. Leana Wen, who is spewing absolute bullcrap out of her mouth hole.
But I think that there was fear initially that if we talked about natural immunity, it might dissuade people from getting vaccinated. But actually, in not being truthful, although it was for good reason, it was to try to get people vaccinated.
I'm not being truthful. She just admitted the CDC lied to the American public to trick them into getting vaccinated. Vaccinated with a poison that instructs healthy cells all throughout your body to create toxic spike proteins at their surface and be marked for death by your immune system. When the cells of the vascular system are infected with this mRNA poison, blood clots form, heart attacks and strokes occur, and people fucking die.
Still, I think that ended up breeding distrust because people thought, if you're not being honest with me about this one thing, why should I trust you on others?
We don't trust you. Nor do we trust anything our corporate-owned media and government tell us anymore. If you do, you are a fool.
I can remember, I can remember putting Jay Bhattacharya and Scott Atlas on CNN, both from Stanford, and the blowback about how in the world could you allow them to talk about natural or herd immunity was unbelievable.
Really, the threats came from anti-vaxxers. But over time, I've seen that it's the other side, if you will, that also became really incensed because they probably thought that I was on, quote, their side.
And you are now surprised that the people you manipulated, coerced, and tricked into injecting themselves with poison are upset with you. Cry me a river, you dumb-ass petty tyrant.
Data changed about the efficacy of vaccines. We're not that effective at protecting you from any infection, and therefore, they're not so good at protecting against transmission. So my views about that changed.
Your views did not change, and we will never believe you, and you deserve to be convicted of treason, and by the grace of God the Almighty, you will be convicted. We know you and your cronies will lie up until your last breath, and we shall never forgive you for the harm you have committed against the population of the world.
Look, the lab leak is a great example. I can tell you, I was treated as if it were heresy on radio and television if I even paid attention to the idea that it came from the virology lab instead of the wet market. And yet, look where we are today. Christopher Wray this week in an interview said he believes that it came from a lab leak.
Michael, I think part of the problem is that some of the people initially, not you, but some of the other people initially who were speaking in favor of a lab leak were talking about it as a bioweapon.
Well, it came out of a virology lab in China that works on biological weapons. So therefore, it is a bioweapon.
That we keep on saying follow the science as if there's one right answer. There isn't. It's all about trade-offs.
2 to 3 years ago, there were no trade-offs. We were told what to do, where to go, who we could see, what to inject in ourselves, where to spit to prove we were safe. There was no nuanced approach. Rather, a totalitarian, communistic approach was installed upon the people, one which will never be forgotten by those of us who lived through it.
Now we are saying it could be an accidental lab leak versus it could be animal spillover. And how are we going to get people together if we have a next pandemic? To move forward, we need to prevent the next pandemic
and be ready
from
for
happening.
the next time.
That's
And be
exactly
ready
right. And
for the
so
next time.
let's
You keep warning us about the next pandemic, while at the same time telling us the last one was accidental. We are not that stupid. How are you so sure there will be another accidental leak? I'll tell you why. Because the first one was no fucking accident, and you know it. Yet you lie with the tongue of the devil, spewing words out of your mouth with the continued intent to harm people that trust you.